Hello, welcome to the What Are We Doing Here podcast, where we share the inspiring stories of two completely opposite women who overcame their unhealthy relationships with food and negative self talk and found a path to health and healing through self discovery and natural nutritional supplements. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Brittany. And today we are going to focus on negative self talk. We hit on it last week when we were talking about body image issues and all of the things that went along with how we thought about our body, how we felt about our body, and the way we talk to ourselves about our body. And we thought that would be a good lead in for this week with negative self talk and how to change it.
That's right. So, negative self talk in itself is really any inner dialogue you have with yourself that may be limiting your ability to believe in yourself and your own abilities to reach your full potential.
Mhm.
So, anytime that you in your head have that, oh, I can't do that, that's too hard for me, there's no way I could ever get to that point. These are all examples of negative self talk,
Mhm.
even though it doesn't really feel like it, right? But
Yeah.
it is anything that is limiting your ability to believe in yourself to get to reaching your full potential. So, any thought that diminishes your ability to make positive changes, too. So, anything that stunts your confidence in being able to move forward. So, all of these things, and I think we kind of mentioned it last week, putting yourself in a mental prison, putting yourself in this box of negativity and inability to believe in yourself. Those are the things that we're talking about today. And oftentimes these stem from somewhere we don't even know. A
So
lot
true.
of times, yeah, they start early in life. They're things that we were exposed to, experiences that we witnessed. It could be something that your parents said to you, or it could have been something that you watched your parents go through. It could have been a sibling, an older sibling, someone who was saying negative things to you or even about themselves. When we're young, we absorb all of those things coming in. There's really no filter. It all filters through into our subconscious and really forms the way that we feel about ourselves. So, if you were exposed to any of that negativity or toxicity at a young age, that's where it starts. But then as we get older and we get into relationships or we get into friendships that become toxic, they can really trigger those subconscious negative beliefs that then it really spirals down.
Mhm.
So it's really difficult because we don't know where it came from initially.
No, and I
So,
think it's important to say, as parents, I raised a stepson. He's amazing, mostly due to his mother because she's amazing. But as parents, you try to do the best for your kids, and nobody's placing blame here at all. I think a lot of people just don't realize how much a child soaks up, whether it's the energy in the room, the words being said, or even if they're in their room, what they're hearing through. I can vividly remember hearing a TV show that still affects me to this day when I was maybe 8 or 9, staying at my aunt's house, and I was supposed to be in bed. And I heard a TV show that still affects me to this day. So, we're not trying to place blame here at all. It is important to know that they do stem from childhood. Just from even a single comment can cause negative self talk. And then it's just like Lindsay said, reinforced through our adult relationships, whether relationships with family, relationships with friends, relationships with significant others, and so on.
yep. And we talked a little bit on one of our earliest podcasts about how I would say the examples of, for me, body image and the scale dictating how I felt about
Yeah.
myself. And my mom and my dad are both very thin. And so that all played in. But then my first real boyfriend in high school, it also was a really difficult situation where a bit possessive. He went to a different school. And so I was always there, secluding from my friends. Then there's the negative, you okay? Negative thoughts and feelings. You got a dog in the background, dog
No,
trying to get
I'm
in the
not
room.
sure. I'm not sure. It sounds like maybe there's a train outside. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Woo! See, this is real life, people. We're
totally real
recording.
life.
Real life is happening, and we just have to roll with it.
That's right. Right. Right before we started, Brittany had to take a phone call because it's real life, right? Like life still goes on.
Sorry, I
But
didn't mean to
that's
interrupt
okay.
your. Yeah. So
That's
yeah, I
okay.
mean the boyfriend in high school, we never know. You know, you raise your kids the best you can, and then you have to turn them loose, and you never know what they're going to encounter that can cause that negative self talk and that mind prison, so to say. And I know, Lindsay, you have been free of that mind prison for a while, but I'm like newly released, like within the past. Right before starting this podcast, I would say I had my last negative talk, last negative dialogue. So, what about that? How long have you been working on that?
It, over 5 years,
Ah,
I have really been diving deep into some inner child stuff, trying to find that why, the what, because I'm very big into the whys and the hows. I still haven't really targeted a specific where it came from, but just connecting to that inner child and childhood memories and trying to like hone into that. That's been a big part of my journey. And we talked a little bit about last week some of the other tactics that we use. But I think it's also important to note that while you say you had your last negative self talk, they're going to come up.
yeah,
It still happens. Even 5 years out for me, I still have sometimes those imposter syndrome. It'll creep back in when you're doing something really hard because when we want to grow and we want to get to a new level, there's always that little voice in the back of your head that still says, am I really built for this? Can I
yes,
really do this? And that's where you have to have some solid foundations of tools to get over that to really be able to propel yourself to the next level. Because I definitely contribute some of the abilities to say yes to a podcast, to say yes to things that you really don't know if you know how to do, is having those tools to believe in yourself.
hmm yes,
And you really have to find the way to believe in yourself because just like last week with body shaming and those comments, and you're going to have people who don't think that you can do it too. So not only are we, working on our own negative self-talk, we still, there's going to be those external comments, those external influences of people who say, why are you even doing that? That's silly. Nobody ever succeeds at that, whatever. And so having really strong foundation and backbone to have changed your own narrative helps keep you from listening and letting those seep back in.
yeah. I think that's important. What you just said, changing your own narrative, because nobody can change how you think inside you except for you,
Mhm.
and the it doesn't just happen because you want it to happen. You have to consciously turn that switch and catch those negative self-talks. Like the last comment I can remember having, I do remember a few more now that you're pointing those out about the business and that kind of thing. But um was walking through there. I think I told you this. I said to myself out loud even, I was home alone. You think you can do a podcast? Really? Like out loud to myself, said that. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I said, "Oh, wait a minute. This is not, you're not going to let this occur. You have to
Mhm.
think positive. Stop yourself in your tracks, turn that switch on and say, you know what? I might fail, but I'm still going to give it my all. And I will tell you something I've learned from you, Lindsay, is that I need to start with positive comments to myself. Start when I look in the mirror and say, hey, looking good today. Say
Yep.
these things to yourself. It sounds so silly. As somebody like newly out of the mind prison, I can say, to me, when people would say, well, start every day by looking in the mirror and saying 3 positive things, I was like, okay, that's not going to work. It works. I swear. I've learned it within the past 6 weeks. It works.
Yep. It really does. Because just like last week when we were talking about starting with gratitude and being grateful for the body that you were given, it's the same thing that if you wake up and you start on a positive note, it's it's really training your brain to look for the positives and look for your abilities and
Yeah.
start to believe that you're capable of so much more. So people say all the time, oh, positive affirmations. But I would challenge people
Yes.
too to say them, but really try to put some emotion behind it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And there's real power in words coupled with emotion or visualization and bringing in that emotion.
Mhm.
And even if you have to, like for me, who do I want to say the most incredible things to as a female? My daughter.
Absolutely.
Imagine you're saying, especially for or your sister or
Mhm.
someone, your mom, someone who is such an important female in your life. Imagine what you would say to them. Feel the emotion that surrounds what you're saying to them and how you want to make them feel. And then say it to yourself. Grab onto that emotion of making your mom, your sister, your daughter feel incredible with the words that you're going to tell them, the affirmations and how you really want them to feel about them. And then really feel that and say it to yourself. It really does work.
Yeah, it does. Also, I like where you're going with that because I just want to build on that. Think about what you would say to them and grab onto that emotion. A, I'm learning something from you today, as I always do. But B, you wouldn't negatively talk to them.
Mm-mm.
And if they knew what you were saying to yourself, look, I will tell you, one of my little sisters, she won't even let me say the word fat. I'm like, okay, Kayla, that's what it is. What do you want me to call it? Not fat. Like they would never say negative things to you. So if the people that love you and care about you, if they wouldn't say it to you and you wouldn't say it to them, don't say it to yourself because you said this earlier and it goes back to the whole mind prison, the limiting. You limit yourself to so many opportunities. In the first podcast, we said I would have limited myself to gaining Lindsay because of my negative self talk. I would not have her in my life because of my negative self talk. So I think it's important that we don't limit ourselves. I just kind of want to throw this out there. I went to a wedding a couple weeks ago and I noticed my family was acting different to me, like hugging me and loving me. And we can't wait to see you again. Can we get together? Let me say, I left there feeling good. And I was reflecting back and I told my mom and I told Jeremy, I said, what is different? Because for years, I felt like the black sheep of the family. I felt
Mhm.
like I wanted to hide when I was around. I felt like when they were all around, I didn't belong. And the only thing that has changed is the way I'm talking to myself. My circle feels the negativity or the positivity. When I'm thinking positive, it comes out and reflects towards other people. There's nothing else that's changed except how I'm talking to myself. And these people all of a sudden love me. No, baby, they've loved you this whole time. You didn't let them love you.
Yep. But think too, the energy that we expel when
Yes.
you're in a negative mindset, it's difficult for people to want to be around that. And
Right.
so if you're always in a negative mood, you're saying negative things to people. So think about now, you're spewing positive energy. So I saw it was probably TikTok or something, but I think it was a teacher. She was like, negative energy. No, it was toxic. Toxic
Toxic.
energy,
Yes.
walk the other way. Toxic energy, walk the other way. And so, you
I
think
love it.
about that. Like you had almost a toxic energy about you
Yes.
that was causing people to, you were secluding yourself, but also people want to surround themselves with what makes them feel good. And
That's
that
right.
negativity and that toxicity doesn't feel good.
And let me throw this in there because until you said it, I didn't really connect the dots. But what you just said made me connect these dots. I didn't realize that I was throwing out that negative energy because my circle was negative.
Yes.
The people that I was surrounding myself with, minus the few that really have been like by my side from the beginning, they were negative. And why would I know I was being negative? We were all just normal in my
Right.
mind. When my mind started shifting to a more positive viewpoint, that's when I started seeing how negative some people were in my life. That's how I started seeing how the love coming from other people because of my positive energy. So, yeah,
Right.
I'm just now connecting those dots, Lindsay.
Yep. Well, and I'll tell you, boundaries too. So now with these negative people you've had in your life, you have to put up boundaries. And you have to make sure that you don't let that negativity come back in. And sometimes that means making big changes, outgrowing people and places and situations. And it's really hard. Like,
Yeah,
so hard when you go ahead.
no, I was just going to say you experienced that personally.
Yeah. And so, we moved 2 years ago, 1,000 miles away for a fresh start, a new beginning. This was 3 years into my self discovery journey, my really figuring out who I was. After that bodybuilding competition, it was August of 2020. By January of 2021, I knew I needed a big change. When I had been trying and doing the things and trying to heal and change, and it wasn't working. I had the perfect body. None of that was working. We knew we needed a big change, and it was, moving halfway across the country. And we it has been incredible, and relationships that have healed from that, and me being able to heal from that, and even Bill, like there were just some things that were difficult to escape where we were, things that had happened, and it's really hard to escape some negativity and traumas without just getting away.
Right.
And that's really what we had to do. And I wouldn't say that we were escaping or running. Bill and I always wanted to live in Florida, and we almost moved before we had kids. So it really was just, I think, God's timing. It was the time for us because we spent our honeymoon in Florida because we thought we were going to move, and then we went back because we wanted to raise kids around our family. And we did. And I think that it's incredible. Our kids have great relationships with their family now, but we can also grow and flourish in this environment. And Bill and I really get to depend on one another. And we're just building something a little different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I admire you for that.
thank you.
We moved to Houston, so 12 hours away. Mileage, not sure. Probably about 700. But well, I'm back. I missed my mama.
And that's okay.
You miss those that you're really close to.
Yep.
And I know that you deal with that, but you also have your own little family, and where it was just Jeremy and I, and the dogs. Can't leave them out. But we sorry, you're gonna hear my train.
That's all right.
Okay. So, yeah, when we moved off, we grew. I grew. Our relationship grew. We became different people, people that we needed to become, that we never
Yep.
would have become if we would have stayed, around the same people, places, and things. Within a year, we had moved back, maybe a little, it was right at a year, maybe a little bit longer. Because we did miss them, and our circle was so small in Houston. And we're happy to be home, but I'll tell you, I still didn't feel accepted back home when I came home. The acceptance started with myself. I had to accept me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. You have to be okay with who you are. You have to accept who you are before
Mhm.
anyone else can accept it,
Yep.
you know? And so that's that big piece. So you talked about flipping the script, recognizing the negativity, and in the moment flipping that script. Still positive affirmations. So those positive affirmations work. I'm still going to throw in that for me one of the big things is gratitude.
Yeah.
But another one that's really important is, and you use this when we talked about wins before, but even in building your self esteem and changing your negative self talk, you've got to write down wins. And you use that one.
Okay, so I'll tell you about my wins because you love your gratitude journal, and I really should add that in. But my wins, we talked about wins a couple of podcasts ago, but the growth is what I want to focus on right now because the growth went from, oh, this really small thing is a win. And it was a win at the time. But a month and a half later, looking back, that one small win added up. And now I have a huge win, 4 huge wins from one small win. So
Yep.
I think that's important. I also think it's important. You had said something about if you're negative about it, be negative, but then flip it around and write down something positive. And I think
Mhm.
I've really like took hold to that, Lindsay. Explain that a little better.
Yeah. So many people are visual.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having this negativity, one, you got to get it out. What is it? So you write it down. And then if you visibly do something, burning that negative thought, scratching it out, coloring it over with a black marker, something that truly gives you that visual appearance of making it go away so that we connect the thought, it comes out, and we get rid of it.
Right.
And I think using different tools and different senses, because sometimes just thinking about it and trying to think about flipping that switch, it doesn't work well. You really have to have a visual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, you could do that with journaling too. If you're writing down a negative feelings that you're having, you write it all out and make sure that it's a I feel. So what are you feeling? Read it back because I've used this before in the past. You read it back. Are there lessons that you can take from it? You write them down and keep the lessons, and then you burn it, rip it up, throw it away. All of that negativity that you just wrote out. It doesn't even have to be something about you. I've used it when something has happened at work that really made me feel like it was my fault. And it wasn't. Once I wrote it out, I realized, but it really made me feel like I was doing something wrong and that I was a bigger part of the issue. When once I got it all down, you can reread it and say, okay, I see what I need to learn from this situation.
And how to
You write
grow.
down the lessons. So you can also keep another, what are your lessons from your negativity? And then get rid of the negative feelings. You rip
Yeah.
them up, you burn them, you do whatever you need to with them. But that's another tool. So, everything about getting yourself out of your negative mental prison is having tools to do it. We have to have these tools. And
Mhm.
so, really working on some of that. And I'm telling you, journaling and writing stuff down it is the best way to get it out on paper and see what you're learning.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And writing down the positives that come from the negative is a really good way to visualize seeing how this was so bad turn into something good.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the last one I'll talk about is, and I did this also with negative body image, but just complimenting people and keeping positivity out there, saying hello and smiling at people, just putting the positives out there, just making sure that we're keeping our tone positive, and when you're trying to get away from that negativity, it is a conscious effort. It's not going to come easy at first. It's going to have to be something that you set out in the morning and you have intention behind it. And you have a reason why you're doing these things and saying these things. And it may seem silly, it may feel silly. It but the more that you can talk positively to other people, the more it's going to start sinking in. And even if those positive affirmations that you want to be saying to yourself, if you're saying them to someone else, that's okay. Just making sure that you're keeping things positive.
And I think you can't negate the fact, we've said it before, say it again. Who you surround yourself with will ultimately affect how you're thinking.
Yep.
Keep
Yep.
it positive,
Agreed.
people.
All
All
right.
right. You must be texting the love of your
I
life
am.
over there.
I sure am, because we thought that we would do something different with our fun section um, this week. And because Father's Day is in a couple of days, we thought that we would bring in the men of our house to come and do the fun section with us.
We should do
So,
a quick introduction, I think.
okay. Yep. So, oh, mine just popped in. Yours did too. Okay.
Good
So,
timing, guys.
yeah. So, this is Bill. This is my husband. We have been married for 16 years. We've been together today. Well, actually, we have been we've been together for 20 years and been married for 16. Oh my gosh. After so many years, you start to literally forget. It's like your birthday. You forget how old you are. So,
Hey, this
Hi.
is this is Jeremy.
Hello.
He's been my better half for 6 years now.
Almost.
Almost 6 years. There
Just
you
about.
go.
okay. So, we're doing dad jokes for um for Father's Day. So, we're going to have the boys ask the jokes to each other.
This should
Who
be
wants
good.
to go first? You want to rock, paper, scissors, or Jeremy, you just want to go first?
Rochambeau.
Huh?
What does that mean?
I don't know that one.
Rochambeau. What is with
No.
you people? Y'all all need to move to Tennessee a while. How do you not know what Rochambeau is?
Jeremy lives there and he doesn't know what it is. What is
I haven't
it?
heard that one.
Rock, paper, scissors. Rochambeau.
Rochambeau. Jeremy,
Mindy
just
Lindsay.
go.
Okay, Jeremy goes first. Go.
Okay. Wow. This is actually harder than I thought it was.
Told ya.
So, you want me to do dad jokes, but I've never had kids. Doesn't that seem a little faux pas?
Faux pas.
Yeah. Faux pas.
Good one.
Funny.
Bill.
Funny.
Hey, um, what did the sushi say to the bee?
To the bee.
Yep.
Like Buzz.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
What did the sushi say to the bee? I don't
Wasabi.
Ah, that's a good
know.
one.
Wasabi. I love sushi.
All right, Jeremy.
What do you call an unruly camera?
Or
What do you call an unruly camera?
an unruly camera.
Unruly, like
Hang on.
crazy,
Oh.
crazy Kodak. I don't know.
No, what about crazy bug? Bug. Something
Bug?
bug.
A loose
A
cannon.
camera is a bug?
A loose cannon!
Loose cannon. That's a good one.
I just tried to make the drum sound.
Yeah.
Oh, she did too! Okay, your turn, Bill.
Why do monkeys' marriages never last?
Why do monkey marriages never last? Because they're always hanging around with other women.
That's good.
They're all swingers.
Ah! Oh, that's hilarious! And I was kind of close.
You were really close.
So, I've been working on a new hobby in my spare time. I've been taking up fencing. The neighbors are pissed.
He was reminded to keep it clean. That's clean, guys.
All right, one more.
All right. So, you're getting older, start doing older people things. So I thought I would try some of those Velcro shoes. Turns out they're a total ripoff.
Oh,
Okay.
that was a good one.
That was really funny. Thank you guys so much for coming on with us. We appreciate you. And thank you, viewers and listeners, for being here with us. If you are listening, I would recommend either jumping on YouTube or watching on the Spotify video because these boys are really funny. And thank you for letting us share our story. Thank you for listening to the way that we have healed on our journey. Again, we always want to welcome you to reach out to us on social media. Brittany and I are both available on Facebook mostly, but Instagram as well. And just send us a message if you'd like to connect. We'd love to speak with you and really just get to know you guys. So if you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Give us a 5-star review on your favorite listening platform and share this podcast with someone that you think it could bring value to. And we'll see you next time.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy
all the
Father's Day.
Yes, and the Paul dads out there, right?
Yes. Faux
Bye,
pas dads.
everybody.
Bye.